Again, my name is Alex Meckel, and I have been with WeChat for nearly 4 years. I started when the app had about 5 million users on it. Today we have close to 700 million users, so it's been an amazing experience for me to go through that amazing growth. Today I'm going to talk about more in detail what the platform actually allows you to do. A lot of you will be familiar with some of the topics that we'll cover. My goal is going to be to really focus and hone in on some of the strategies that I think are required to use the platform correctly. And there's been many descriptions of what WeChat actually is described as. Some describe it as a platform, others describe it as an operating system or a portal. I think after this presentation you'll know quite well what WeChat is all about, and hopefully we'll be able to use it as such a tool. I'd like to start off with a video that's actually going to give you probably a pretty good introduction to what WeChat actually represents better than I could do.
Provides hundreds of millions of people with the easiest way to communicate. Businesses can now use WeChat's 4 platforms and connect to WeChat users. The official accounts platform, the open platform, the hardware platform, and the smart platform. First, let's talk about the official accounts platform. Use the official accounts platform to connect with users from within WeChat to deliver content and services. Subscription accounts can broadcast messages and articles to readers. Service accounts help users access your organization's online services. Over 10 million customers have used China Merchants Bank's service account to access banking services within WeChat. 1 year after launching their WeChat service account, customers' usage has surpassed telephone banking, saving them time and money. There are already over 8 million WeChat official accounts, making it convenient for businesses to connect with their customers. Next, let's look at the WeChat Open Platform. The Open Platform provides a way for apps and websites to connect with WeChat. Users can log in to your product using their WeChat account and share great content in chats or their social media feed. Now, users can also use WeChat Pay to buy from your app or website. DiDi Taxi is the leading provider of car services in China. Users automatically pay for rides on DiDi using WeChat Pay and receive discounts for future rides. Payment is made more social as users share these discounts with friends within WeChat in chats and moments. This has helped DiDi Taxi win over 100 million customers and lift their market share to 60%. WeChat also provides a platform for hardware, helping to connect mobile devices with other smart hardware. With the WeChat-enabled hardware, you can control and manage smart hardware within WeChat. Users can view data within WeChat and share this information with their friends. Let's take a look at WeChat's smart conferencing system. It uses the iBeacon from the WeChat hardware platform to control who can enter the conference room. Once in the meeting, use WeChat to control your environment and adjust the air conditioner, lights, and privacy. The conference system combines WeChat with smart hardware to offer a better way to hold meetings. Finally, the WeChat Smart Platform provides developers with image recognition, audio and voice recognition, and other cool smart technologies. WeChat's image recognition features connects your app to stuff in the real world, allowing users to interact and make purchases. Voice and audio recognition helps apps to listen to the surrounding environment, to deliver even more content and services. WeChat launched the Voice Donor charity project using the Smart Platform. Hundreds of thousands of users contributed their voices, and the Smart Platform analyzed the results to create over 200 audiobooks for the blind. This is WeChat, It uses technology to push forward charitable causes. It connects businesses with our users to push forward innovation and scale up growth. We're dedicated to building an open ecosystem, serving hundreds of millions of users, helping them to find the best mobile services, together with our business and developer partners. WeChat is offering limitless opportunities.
The reason I wanted to start with this video, even though it took some time, it does give you pretty much a good overview of what WeChat actually offers. And I think now the question back to, what is it? Is it an operating system? Is it a platform? I think is self-explanatory. The issue is how to harness the power of WeChat, and that's, I think, what we're here about. This conference is obviously called China Connect, so the best way to connect users from the West and the East is through WeChat. That's true for individual users as well as businesses. We just covered a lot of the data. 12 million official accounts today, 700 million active users, 21 languages in terms of operating support of the app, 200,000 developers currently working on different apps to support the system, and then available in 200 countries. I think that in itself tells you one of the great successes of WeChat is that it is quite developed. It's one of the most innovative platforms today in the world, and it supports pretty much any language that you would be doing business in. I think one of the powers of what happened to WeChat when it started initially as a people-to-people connectivity tool and communications tool, it quickly evolved into a great business resource tool that now represents a lifestyle. That lifestyle connects people to businesses, people to people, and people to services. This chart kind of describes what WeChat is all about. I'd like to use this opportunity to actually show you one of the amazing things about WeChat in terms of the viral growth that we've experienced. And if you actually have WeChat on your phone currently, what you can do is go into your contact tab, and what we will do is put on what's called a friend radar. I just actually activated that. Anyone who wishes to connect with me, as an example, can now go into this, this feature and very easily add me, which would take, in a typical conference like this, several hours to basically go around and be able to meet everyone. Here you have an opportunity within literally 2-3 seconds to connect with me. And as you see, as I'm holding this monitor up, I've already have four or five people that are on the radar now, which makes it very easy for me to go in now. And as I'm watching them populate the screen, I just literally, you can see, how quickly it goes. That's essentially what you see here on the screen is happening right now on my phone. I now have about 12 people that are already connected on my phone. I now can basically start to click on them individually and add them as I go through. And once I add them, I get a little check mark. So this essentially is what WeChat is all about, viral connectivity. We just already heard, again, the explanation. Is it a platform? Is it an operating system? Is it a portal? It really depends on how you use it and what you intend to do with it. It's actually all of the above. Some of the features that we already saw highlighted in the video, and I'll go through it real quick. Basically, you've got 3 components or 3 buckets that you have to consider with WeChat. One is obviously the communication, which is underlying the whole opportunity, people to people that connect. Once you have that P2P connection, essentially you have businesses and services that now allow you to connect to those people. You can play games on it and you can pay on it. So basically, this ecosystem revolves around the base idea of communication, allowing services and businesses to connect through an opportunity to actually gamify the whole thing and then be able to pay for those services that you're actually trying to sell. The main underlying features of a P2P connection is how do we actually get to know each other and how do you grow that community very quickly. What I just demonstrated is, from myself, if I was a WeChat user, very instantly through our simple radar function, I was able to see an ad within 2 to 3 seconds, anywhere from 12 to 50 people that are in this room, which allows you to get that exponential growth curve that we're talking about. That happens through a QR code. It happens through the radar function that you just witnessed on my phone. Another feature is obviously being able to share that information with those people that are then that you're connected to in your circle, and that happens through what we call our moments feed. Being able to share your moments in a live manner with those people so that they can actually communicate with you and give you feedback. And then obviously the most important component of WeChat, which is the P2P connection, allowing you to communicate. You can do that via photo, files, voice, obviously most important voice, and then text. But let's talk about specifically, these are more the P2P type of relationships that have grown WeChat to 700 million users. What I want to focus on right now is how to actually use official accounts. And official accounts is basically a fancy word for corporate accounts. These corporate accounts obviously are apps essentially that are attached to the WeChat platform. So it's, if you would, in other terms, an app within an app. The beauty of that is that if you do have an app, you don't have to replicate anything and build anything new. You just take what you have existing on either an HTML format on your website, and you now have an opportunity to connect that through these official accounts directly on the platform. Really important for you, we talked about the number of users, 700 million users obviously worldwide. 200 million of those are outside of China, so that's actually quite a substantial number. More importantly, what I want to focus on today is a little bit of that opportunity of Chinese travelers actually coming to Europe, coming to the West. International travelers in China today represent about 125 million. That number is going to double basically in the next 5 years, which is an amazing growth. If you took that in terms of sizes of countries, the top 4 countries start at about 250 million people. At 250 million people, that is the number in the next 5 years that you're going to see in terms of Chinese tourism actually exiting China to go into the world. That would represent today the 5th largest country in the world. What that means for you is that if you're doing any business with China, which is obviously the topic of this discussion, connecting with China, China Connect, then WeChat is the only opportunity for you to tap into those potential 250 million people. The reason is that 93% of those people traveling outbound outside of China have WeChat installed on their phones. So it's the best way for you to actually capture those people. Those international tourists have very specific needs that you need to address. Number one, they're very mobile savvy, as we heard from the previous panel discussion and presentation. They are looking specifically for offers when they come here in terms of services and products. They're hungry, they want local information. The reason they're coming here is to see the sites, to purchase products, services, etc. So you need to be able to offer that local information. They're also, you have to recognize, a lot more socially media savvy than we are and active on those platforms. Because of the high penetration rate of mobile cell phones in China, we saw that number is actually quite phenomenal. The best way to connect with the Chinese is actually through his mobile cell phone. In the West, we're still familiar with SMS and email. In China, you can scratch all of that. No one uses that. Emails pretty much don't exist unless you're trying to send a legal document or maybe a presentation that you're going to use later on. However, most people today are actually using WeChat as their main communicative tool to communicate among each other and send information. Finally, the value of those consumers is obviously extremely large because they are now one of the largest spending groups. And most importantly also, they're used to what in the West we refer to as artificial intelligence and augmented reality. So you need to make use of those type of technologies to really attract those users and keep them loyal to your platform. Most of the current solutions that Western companies specifically apply in their business today, mostly on either a website, which pretty much Chinese don't access at all, or through their own app. And unfortunately, most of those apps are in English, so by default, you're not going to get any of those 200 million users that you're going to be attracting here in the West. The main issues right now that we always see, and I'm just going to run through the list. Wi-Fi connectivity is not always available. It starts at the airport. You get off a plane, which is obviously very important, and you want to connect. You don't want to use your roaming. How do you actually connect with those people? Well, Wi-Fi would be a great option. The problem is, especially in Europe, Wi-Fi is not always available. If it is, then it costs money. In China, Wi-Fi is a given. It's mostly free. It's considered a public service. So we have to start changing our thinking in terms of how we actually connect. If we're trying to connect, Wi-Fi is the best way to do that. We're still trying to use our own apps. Even in this room, we heard, let's download the apps. That's great. The problem is, how many apps do we want on our phone? Really, when you look at what you use, anywhere from 3 to 4 apps per day, they're all the same apps. So rather than create and invest millions of dollars into marketing your own app, why not just create an in-house app on HTML5, which you probably already have, and just connect it to the platform that already has those users? You save yourself a lot of time and money. A lot of them actually require some sort of mobile access through their local telecom service providers, etc. Back to number one, use Wi-Fi to connect to those people, and you'll save yourself a lot of time. CRMs, all of you that have businesses have CRM systems. Again, allow those CRM systems to communicate with this platform by connecting it. Once they're connected, and we'll talk about security, you actually have direct access to all those people, and you can start marketing it more efficiently. Obviously, sponsorship is a big one. Just again, go back to Wi-Fi. How do you pay for Wi-Fi? That's always the issue. Who pays for it? Well, sponsors, there's tons of sponsors that would love to sponsor Wi-Fi to be able to get that audience to connect with them. That's, I think, one of the most attractive ways, and China has exploited this on many levels, using third parties, sponsors, to actually pay for the connectivity cost of offering free Wi-Fi. And then obviously the biggest issue is, once you have users on your apps, how do you actually get data and analytics about those users? Very difficult a lot of times to do. WeChat obviously has a lot of data available once you have those users, and you can tap into that. So let's jump right into the engagement techniques, and I think they're very, very easy. I think that's where, to be honest, 12 million official accounts today. I'd say maybe 1,000 of those accounts, which is really a tiny sliver of what we're talking about, actually have an effective strategy that connects to those users and then actually allows them to use the app in a sensible way. Again, what do WeChat users expect today? And when I say WeChat users, it's really those 200 million potential users that are going to be coming over the next 5 years. They want Wi-Fi. So if you're a service provider, make sure you offer Wi-Fi. If you're not, find venues and make sure that you encourage them to use Wi-Fi, because that's how you're going to get them. Number two, make it simple. Don't overthink the whole thing. Make it as simple as possible to navigate, menu structure. The type of user experience that you want is simplicity. Use artificial intelligence like voice recognition, augmented reality. These are all very fancy words. They already exist. You don't need to go to trade shows. You don't need to do a lot of research on it. It's very basic. WeChat already incorporates a lot of those functions in the app through API connectivity that you'll have access to. So just make use of it. Live chat programs, live chat support groups, help service desks that are on 24 hours available. These are things that Chinese today expect. Audio tours, when you go to the Louvre, any kind of museum or cultural institution. Audio tours, the old analog way was going and renting these little devices. They had to be serviced, battery, etc. It's all part of the past. Everyone has a cell phone. That smart device is now your best tool, which is free because they already have it, so you don't even have to buy new equipment. Just install the audio guides on this platform and then allow them to connect through that. LBS services, location-based services, which is kind of a given. From Uber to Google, everyone uses it. Again, that's what's going to enhance your online to offline experience. So make sure you take advantage of that. And then most importantly, when you do have services or products that you're trying to charge for, tap into the number one payment system on this platform that allows you to do that, which is WeChat Payment, and we'll talk about it. So let's just really talk about, again, artificial intelligence, a big word, it's a big keyword this year. If you went to any of the big tech conferences, that was with VR, AR, and artificial intelligence. Those are kind of the three big focuses of a lot of tech companies. The way we look at it is, creating software that is capable of intelligent behavior. Essentially what you're trying to do is use human behavior and translate that into the device or the software that's reading that to understand that. So think humanly, think rationally, act rationally. That's basically the fundamental definition of AI. China Southern Airlines is, I think, a case study that I'd like to highlight here. They've done a tremendous job. It was one of the first to actually use AI inside the official account platform. If you look at the first window on your far left, that's what an official account typically looks like. This one is in Chinese. And if you notice, it says service staff. It's the second tab from the bottom. And you'll see on the right a little icon, and it says test right now. They're testing this. This is one of the live chat functions that I mentioned. Official accounts that have this activated actually have a little symbol, so you as a user quickly can identify that there's 25-hour live support available. And again, people do expect that in China today. The second window in the middle is actually once you enter the official account, there's typically, the typical format is 3 menu bars at the bottom that you see with a little keyboard window. You can toggle back and forth between the keyboard and the menu, which allows you to give direct access to the type of information. In this case, back to the AI, they're using a voice recognition engine. So if I want to book a flight from China Airlines today, all I would have to do is now hit that little keyboard button. It switches over to my regular push function, talk function, and I can speak into the system, flight today, Beijing to Shanghai. Literally, that's all it requires. What it'll do is on your right, if you look at it, and that's the right window, it will list the date of your inquiry, and it will list the flight schedule of each of those flights, as well as the price of the ticket that you're going to be purchasing. So again, within 2 seconds, basically, by speaking in and getting this response automated through an AI engine on the back end, you were able to get all this information for the entire 24-hour period of that day. What that does is it speeds up the whole process. Once you decide which flight you want to take, you just hit on it, you execute the transaction and pay for it on WeChat. Typical reservation systems like Orbitz, MSN Travel, whatever, essentially make it a lot more complicated. You have to actually find the tab, then you click on it, you choose your dates, whatever. Here, through simple voice and 2-3 seconds of inputting your information, you're able to get that automated response. Let's talk about WeChat Pay, which is obviously one of the most important functions now that has evolved very quickly, and I think the numbers speak for themselves. Pretty much 50% of all WeChat accounts now have this function enabled. It is a function that you have to enable inside your WeChat personal account by linking your debit card or bank account to your WeChat account. Once that occurs, you're able to purchase through that WeChat payment account services and products. Very important, in order to make a payment system successful, you have to have a high penetration of the app, or in this case, the user base. Since WeChat has 93% penetration rate in all Tier 1 cities. Tier 1 cities are, as you know, cities like Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, that really are the majority of the people potentially using those services and products. So you want to make sure that those people are also the user base that actually can connect to those services and products. WeChat has that advantage that pretty much everyone in those cities is going to be either WeChat enabled, number one, and number two, more importantly, they will have WeChat payment attached to their account. So in 2.5 years, when we launched WeChat Pay, we've basically converted from those, if you take, within China, 500 to 600 million users, 300 million of those users are actually now connected through WeChat payment. And you can actually tap into those users and sell them services and products. 60% of those active users are also now, as I said, active WeChat payment users. $5 trillion or 5 trillion RMB in transactions was occurred last year. We expect that number this year to potentially double or even threefold within the next 2 years. One issue that we always get is, how secure is the platform? If you're starting to attach CRM systems as well as payment systems, you want to make sure that the platform is secure. And I get this question, pretty much every day. The truth is that no mobile platform is completely safe. There's vulnerabilities within every system. One thing that I can say about WeChat is that we're actually one of the only social media platforms that's eTrust certified, and that has a lot to say about what the competition thinks. People like Facebook, Twitter, whatever, don't have that capability or haven't chosen to go down that road. We actually made efforts to become eTrust certified because we recognize the need for that in the West specifically. So from data encryption, website phishing, device protection, payment limits on certain transactions to make sure that if your device is stolen or your PIN is compromised,
risk monitoring and control systems. They're all in place on the platform today, so you are ensured that your transactions between your company or your service and the product and those users is protected. The loop is quite simple. It also allows for a very online to offline, and a lot of people talk about online to offline. I think WeChat is probably the best connectivity tool to actually access a relationship online to offline. Payments obviously facilitate because that's something that you use pretty much every day. Just like you would take your real wallet and use a credit card or cash, here you actually have a digital wallet that does everything for you. So it starts with your official account. Through the official account, you connect with your merchants or vendors. Those vendors in turn obviously offer services and products that you can then pay for through the WeChat payment system that then collect all this data back from the users from what type of transactions they're doing, where their preferences lie, where are they actually conducting a lot of those transactions. That data loop actually creates a circle that you control. And I think that's really important because when you use a credit card, you don't have a lot of that data because the data companies control that data and not the vendors. So how does a typical payment look like? You start with the store, customer arrives at the store, you recognize him obviously through the scanning of the code. He then pays for the transaction, customer leaves the store. That's where the analytics start, because once he leaves, you want to make sure that you collect that data or have data about that consumer to actually be able to either service them through loyalty cards, potentially through promotions, etc. So you want to continue that, that relationship with that customer, especially if they're travelers and they're going back. How do you continue that offline transaction when they leave your store? That's, I think, again, where the real O2O opportunity comes in, is WeChat being that bridge and connectivity tool now allows you to do that. And at the end, once you have that data and that analytics, you can now actually service the account a lot better, because now you can actually offer services and promotions, etc., to actually maintain that relationship so that ultimately that traveler or follower will come back to you, which is where the whole loop starts again. For simplicity reasons, I just took some screenshots of my own account. So how do you access it? On the far right of the bottom menu, which is your WeChat menu, you see the Me button. That's pretty much everything about you. You click on it. The third tap, you see this little icon called a wallet. Most of you that have WeChat probably don't have that on your device right now or in your app. The reason for that is in order to get that, you actually have to have someone initiate, especially as a foreign WeChat user, you have to have someone actually initiate by sending you either a red envelope, which are the Hongbao, these little packets that you can get, monetary packets. Once you initiate that, you will see this little wallet icon pop up within 3 seconds. Because essentially what that is, that triggers for you to actually be able to accept that money that was sent to you. You actually need an account. That creates the account for you. As a Westerner, since we don't have RMB or renminbi accounts attached to our WeChat, we don't have that little icon show up until someone that actually does have that send us and initiate that initial transaction. Once you do that, you get into the second window, you click on the wallet, you get these different functions within it. The biggest one on the top left, you'll see quick pay, balance, and cards. My balance right now, I think, shows 5 RMB, which is about €1. On the left, the quick pay, once you click that, you would actually get a QR code that allows you to pay. The way that QR code is activated, once you click it, you actually have to type in your PIN number, so there's security, again, built into the system on the front end. Once you get the QR code, you can literally show that to the vendor, and they can scan it and actually deduct the transaction. On the far right, you have the cards tab. That's where you would actually, what we call, bundle your bank account with the WeChat account. And in this case, if you look at mine, I have ICBC Bank attached to my account. Yeah, but the WeChat account, and this is an interesting component. Where is that money, that virtual? It's essentially virtual money. The middle tab where you saw the balance 5 RMB, that's my WeChat account. So I actually choose to have less money in my WeChat account than I actually do on my bank account. The reason for that is if your account was compromised, obviously getting it from a WeChat account could be potentially simpler if someone actually knew my PIN than from my bank account. So a lot of people choose to have money obviously in their WeChat account, which is kind of a virtual account versus the actual physical account from ICBC. So in this case, I just choose to leave my money in my ICBC account and just actually use it. And it gives you an option when you actually are at the vendor and you scan the code. It'll ask you if your balance is only 5 RMB. Obviously, I can't purchase anything. It'll ask you, do you want to use ICBC? If you click yes, at that point you have to type in your PIN number again. So again, it's an added security level. I call it a secondary security level that actually is, I think, quite preferable. So that's why I choose to keep more money on the debit bank side. WeChat case studies and examples, and let's go into that, which makes it really interesting. I talked about the strategy, making sure that you actually have a strategy on how to use these official accounts so that you don't end up with users. And I get a lot of frustration from a lot of those 10 million accounts out there. And since I'm the ambassador, I hear all the complaints. I hear the good things, but I also hear a lot of the complaints. And the complaints are, well, we had this official account now for a year, and we don't have any users. Well, my first question is, how much did you invest into trying to get those users? It's just like anything else, you have to promote it and market it. What we're going to show here is actually some examples of features that have been used to actually get those followers and actually allow them to become loyal, and then more importantly, to actually maintain them. A lot of what I do as an ambassador for WeChat is go around the world, and it's a great job. I get to meet great companies and great institutions. Some of those are some of the most amazing cultural institutions. And even those cultural institutions have chosen WeChat as their preferable platform to tap into, obviously, those tourists. Art Institute of Chicago is a great one. Things like tour guides, museum highlights, audio tours, services, just simple things like hours of operation, mapping systems of either the facility or how to get there. These are all features that are available on their official account. MoMA, Modern Museum of Art, probably one of the most important cultural institutions in the United States. They actually just became a partner last month. We've worked extensively with them to actually find ways to curate entire exhibits. We actually have a Degas exhibit right now that is ongoing, and they've used that as an opportunity to actually attract. We've helped them potentially market that in China. So the number of users is rapidly increasing. And they use things like photo gallery, the comment section of a mini blog section. So again, more social media type of functionality built into the account, which you could potentially get through Facebook and others, which is why it's not that unique, but it is an important component in terms of providing users with information. The Louvre right here, I mean, literally a couple of blocks away, they were one of the first cultural institutions probably in the world to actually adopt it. And thanks to the Louvre, I was able to get MoMA to come on board because they said, well, if the Louvre has it and you don't have it, you're missing out. And so basically within pretty much a day, I convinced them that it was probably important to be on WeChat. Since then, the relationship's been great. So again, it's not so much why to use it, it's actually how to use it. And so the shift from 5 years ago when I started to now is not so much what is WeChat, but it's more how to use WeChat. The Louvre has actually done a really good job on doing that. National Museum of China is kind of our key, I think, example to demonstrate because they literally came on board within the second year of WeChat existence, so about 2012. They've done an amazing job. They started with what you just saw on the right here, artwork, photo, artwork info, audio guides. You can use a ping system. On the left, you see this 8801. What that is essentially, and you'd be familiar if you went to a museum, you sometimes see the title of the picture and when it was done and who the artist is. Here you have an opportunity to add a little code, and it can be an alphanumeric code that you use. In this case, 8801. You type it in, you hit send. It pings back an auto response about the painting, potentially even shows you the painting so you make sure you're standing in front of the correct piece of artwork, gives you a description, and then ultimately also gives you an audio guide to the artwork. What that does is it's amazing. Now you actually have, this is a very simple example of real O2O. You're standing in front of you're in a museum in front of a painting, and you're looking at this piece. You don't have your little audio device with you because you don't need it anymore. Obviously, that's all gone. So you're standing with your own personal device, and now you're actually listening, viewing, and reading about this piece of art. The beauty of the O2O at this point is once you leave the actual museum, guess what happens? It's still on your phone. So a lot of people are saying, well, isn't that bad for the museum? Because once you have it on there, why would people ever come back? Totally wrong. I mean, just like you can buy catalogs, et cetera, and can take photographs potentially if it's allowed. that data is available anyway. So whether or not it's available through some other form, wouldn't you rather have that data controlled through you with that user so that he can actually share it? And that's actually the power of WeChat, that it is going to get shared. It's going to, through these blogging sections, the social media component, you will actually encourage other friends and family members potentially, because of that experience, to actually go see the real thing. And no digital device can replace the actual offline experience. So the whole relationship, again, O2O, is a very, very important one of this relationship with that user. But let's talk more specifically about some actual commercial opportunities that people have used. I talked about CRMs, L'Occitane, Sephora, Lancôme. Those are all examples of great companies that have actually done it in a very effective way. Swarovski, the watch companies, Le Cult, Uniqlo, online to offline. These are all examples that have used AI, QR codes, a lot of these features that I addressed today. Lane Crawford is an online site. Beijing Joy City from 3D Shopping, Beacon Systems. Macy's, again, very similar. Again, a compilation of all the above that I've already talked about. Korea, department store there, QR codes, promotions, using pop culture to actually, through the information, draw in users. Galerie Lafayette, right in your front door. Again, a great account that has done a tremendous job. Beijing Airport. Again, airport's a national museum we already talked about. Reserving your tickets, potentially. Louvre could do that. They don't have that yet. Summing up, convenience, targeted content, CRM systems, mobile commerce, O2O, and data analysis. That's really what you need to focus on when you want to reach out to those potential users that you have out there. We have about 3 minutes here, and I'm open to some questions or comments.
Thank you very much. That was very interesting. I have one question to kind of start out here. You already mentioned that there are some things that Westerners don't see using WeChat that Chinese do. You know, how much does WeChat really want to engage outside of China?
So obviously, as a social media platform, we want as many people obviously to use our platform. We want them to have a good user experience. In order to create a good user experience, we obviously want international content. International accounts provide that international content. That's my job, again, as an ambassador, to go around the world and find interesting either cultural institutions or companies that provide that type of content. So the answer is we're very interested. The issue is that our growth, when you go from 5 million in your first year to 700 million in 5 years, it's a matter of how much resources you have in terms of just human capital to go out and do that. Right now, I myself with 2 other members pretty much cover the world. So that's a lot of work and time that gets committed. But the answer is we're definitely committed to the international strategy. And with managing growth in China and at the same time the international, we try and combine those two. So that's pretty much what I'm here for today, to actually demonstrate that we are interested in the international markets.
So what is the global strategy for Tencent?
It's not so much a Tencent strategy, it's more of a WeChat. WeChat is obviously a division of Tencent. WeChat as a social media platform, our intentions are to become obviously the largest social media communications platform through this ecosystem that we've created. So reaching out to those either users or corporations, we feel that it's a much easier approach to connect with the corporations and cultural institutions, because as we heard, China is coming. It's not so much that we have to go there. So rather than me spending a lot of time trying to get individual users like you and convince you to use WeChat, it's through the experience that you're going to get drawn into it one way or the other. So from our perspective, it's not so much let's go out and try and get users or convince them, it's let them come to us.
We can maybe do one question. We've got about 30 seconds. Is there any? Okay, you have one here? Oh, sorry.
Really quick. Hi, Nithya from American International. I had a question actually about closed loop environment of WeChat, because versus Facebook, obviously you can click through to external sites, but with WeChat you can't do that. Do you know what the strategy is going to be for that moving forward?
When you specifically say closed environment, you mean once you're inside the office, right? So the platform is obviously, the whole goal is to maintain that user experience, which I think is actually a positive. You don't want people bouncing back and forth and kind of getting lost within the digital world of content. So one of the things that WeChat as a system, a platform requires is that you always come back to where you originally originated from. The beauty of that is that you can still refer and connect to either your personal apps or corporate apps. You can actually go and visit third-party websites. But what you do is you essentially always have to close the loop by coming back to your originating starting point with it, which is WeChat. The reason for that is because in order to create an effective user experience, you want that loop to always close. So it's not so much that we're afraid of people exiting the platform and using some other platform, it's because we want to make sure that the transaction, to be secure and effective, always comes back to where you originated from. So a lot of the external information that you're referring to is available, it's just you have to continuously work through that web within that platform.
Okay, let's do one last quick question here, and then we'll break for coffee.
Thanks. You mentioned the official accounts. My question is, to set up an official account, you usually need to have a presence on the ground and set up what we call a WOFI, wholly owned foreign entities. So what are the options for companies willing to tap into the Chinese demand, but that don't have these local presences? Okay,
and that's that is, to be honest, one of the largest challenges that we face is that for foreign companies to set up, and that's not a WeChat specific requirement that we have, that's actually a government requirement. And so what that requires is that for you to be able to tap into Chinese or a Weixin account, you actually have to be registered as or have a representative in China that is registered as a Chinese company. So the reason for that is obviously that we want to monitor, or we have to monitor, the type of content that's being fed on this platform. So there's very strict regulations about this. So if you're a foreign company, you pretty much have to use a third-party agency that will either set that up, or through your own company that you set up in China, you can establish an account directly there as well. If you choose not to do that and just have it accessible within the West, meaning outside of China, then you can actually set up a WeChat official account, which Weixin and WeChat are two separate servers. Then it's much simpler. You basically can do that very quickly with your current registrations, country specific, and set that up. The issue is that those accounts cannot be viewed inside China.